All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 27th Economic Development Advisory Committee. I think we're only missing one board member right now, so we're going to do a silent roll call. And right now is an opportunity for public comment. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak on an item that is not currently on our agenda, this would be the opportunity. And I need to wait because we have a time delay, so I got to wait 30 seconds. So the number to call in for public comment is 916-774-5353. Give it another 10 seconds here. And typically at the EDAC meetings, we don't have a mad rush for public comment. So our time is up. Don't have anybody calling in right now. So we're going to go ahead and move on. The consent calendar is the next item on our agenda, and the members were all emailed the minutes from our January meeting. And there is a correction on the minutes that was brought to my attention. And I guess Vance Jones had some pretty cool magic. He both voted for the October minutes and abstained at the same time. So I think they're going to fix that. And I assume abstain is the correct mark on that.
I abstained.
All right. I have to also allow for the public to comment on the minutes if they would like to, so need to wait again for 30 seconds. And again, if you would like to make a comment on the consent calendar, the minutes, call 916-774-5353. All right, 30 seconds up. I don't have anybody calling in that I know of. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from the January meeting with the change, the taking Vance off the yes vote? Okay, Jeff Richardson motion. Is there a second? Stephanie, I've got a second. And again, I can only see 9 of you at a time. So if somebody else raised your hand, sorry, I missed you. Let's see. I've got to figure this out. So a lot of times in some of these meetings, they say all in favor, just say aye, and then it's a mess. Michelle, do you have a good way of doing this how do you guys typically handle this? Because I've got to ask this because I've seen it a bunch of different ways.
A roll call vote is easiest.
Is it? Okay. All right, Kelly, and do a roll call vote.
Guess it'd help if I unmuted my mic. Albert?
Yes.
Alcon?
Yes.
Dement?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
And Angela, tell me how to pronounce your last name?
Tsukiji. The T is silent.
Tsukiji.
Yes, and yes.
Yes and yes. Thank you.
Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a presentation from our Blue Line Arts, and Mary Tess and Brooke, I'm not sure who's going to speak, but they're going to talk to us about art in our city, so this should be exciting.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to share my screen here so I can start the presentation. Can you all see that okay?
Yep.
All right. Great. Well, thank you all for having Brooke and I today. My name is Mary Tess Mayo. I'm co-director, and Brooke and I are very excited to present to you some ideas and solutions we have for economic recovery here in Roseville. So this is a little breakdown of the agenda of what we are planning to speak about today. We have economic impact of the arts, and we have really been taking a a lot of our direction from the approved Arts and Entertainment Strategic Plan from the City of Roseville. We've used their top priorities to inform the decisions that we are making. And we have a couple of opportunities that we are excited to share with you, including Third Saturday is the Roseville Mural Project, Comunidad, a new Hispanic Heritage Month and Residency art gallery exhibition, as well as NCCA in 2022 and potential Signature Arts Festival.
So yeah, I'll jump in here. By the way, I'm Brooke, the other half of Blue Line Arts that's here today. And as you guys are all on, the EDAC committee, I'm sure that you understand, the tourism and economic benefit of arts and arts infrastructure for our city. But we just pulled a few quick facts and figures, about what percentage of Americans value the arts and culture as a part of their local communities, how much your average American believes that it's important to the economy, and this stat here from Americans for the Arts, that for every $1 the city invests in the arts, there is a $3 return. There's also some key facts and figures that we'll be sharing with you in a quick video snippet from Americans for the Arts.
The arts, they bring us inspiration and joy, and they make our communities beautiful places to live and to work. But there's more. Nonprofit arts and cultural organizations are also businesses. Nationally, the arts generate $166.3 billion in economic activity. Dinner and a show go hand in hand. When we go to an arts event, we often begin the experience with a meal. We pay for parking, go out for dessert or drinks after the show, and return home and pay the babysitter. The average attendee spends $31.47 per person, and that doesn't even include the cost of admission. Out-of-towners and tourists spend even more. All that spending is good for local businesses and good for the economy. Nationally, the arts support 4.6 million jobs. The arts, creating better places to live, supporting jobs, generating government revenue, and the cornerstone of tourism. The arts mean business. Learn more on the new Arts and Economic Prosperity Study at americansforthearts.org/economic impact.
Sorry. There we go.
Thanks. But yeah, just to, recap on some of the points in that video, obviously the, Americans for the Arts does economic impact studies every 5 years, and their study for, the year 2020, 2021 is going to look very different just because of the adverse effects of COVID closures and event restrictions and gatherings that COVID-19 has had on our industry. But, as we move forward, economic impacts and benefits to the rest of our community kind of informs the opportunities that we're going to share with you today and some of what our top priorities are. But yeah, I'll let Mary Tess walk through the Arts and Entertainment Strategic Plan goals.
Sure. So we have been looking closely at the strategic plan that was approved by the City of Roseville. I think it was back in 2014. And their top priority was to establish an Arts and Entertainment Commission and Division and to hire a program producer. That has not occurred yet, but a PBID in the area, the Downtown Roseville Partnership, has been formed, which is absolutely great. That public-private partnership is a huge win for the area. And now we're looking to see how we can leverage those different relationships to develop a vibrant downtown arts and entertainment district here in Roseville. So we see developing a signature festival and then also enhancing recreation class offerings in the arts as being the primary actions and milestones to reach that. All right, and here we have some secondary goals. These were also outlined in the City of Roseville's Arts and Entertainment Plan to develop a public art master plan and an ongoing public art program. There hasn't been an update to the Public Art Master Plan, but here at Blue Line Arts, we have been really grateful to work with the Downtown Roseville Partnership and the City of Roseville to bring the Roseville Mural Project for the past 2 years. And we are interested in exploring a community-wide arts and entertainment marketing program so that there is a one-stop shop for everyone to know exactly what is happening in their area, as well as supporting and facilitating some organizational capacity for local arts and entertainment providers. Brooke, you want to
So this is just an overview of some of our current opportunities that we're going to outline, and these are kind of the most relevant to economic development in our area. We do a lot for a mid-sized arts organization, and this by no means is comprehensive of what we do, but these are just our near future opportunities that we think that you would like to hear about. That includes Third Saturdays. We're going to go over our exhibitions and related programming that tie into Third Saturdays. Again, the Roseville Mural Project and Public Art Projects, Comunidad, NCECA, and potential arts festivals and special events.
So Third Saturdays have been around for quite a while. Our organization has had all of our art receptions on Third Saturdays year-round since moving into our space in 2008. And this year, we would really love to see it expanded onto Vernon Street. So possibly shutting down the street and having vendors with a focus on artists, makers, and farmers. And to really build a sense of community, we see public art projects being a great addition to this. So some mini mural competitions, potential for chalk art activities, and more.
And I do want to point out that, the Third Saturdays model that Mary Tess is going to highlight is currently being employed at the fountains for pop-up and activation opportunities. And we're working with them to facilitate a couple of opportunities, but we really think that the downtown could be a great area for these activations as well.
Definitely. So, as you saw in the video, an average person spends about $31.47 when they come down to the area for an arts-related event. So we are planning to make Third Saturdays as intriguing as possible for as big of an audience as possible. So live music, so complementing the concerts in the square that are planned for this June through September, and activating the Tower Theater. So scheduling local bands such as School of Rock or potentially comedy and symphony nights. As I said, vendors are going to have a focus on artists and makers, public art projects, and a possible expansion outside of the June through September, where hopefully we can have outdoor movies or something activating the Vernon Street Square, so that the visitors who regularly come to our Third Saturday receptions are able to enjoy the rest of what Vernon Street has to offer. Okay. Brooke, you want to talk about NCECA?
Sure. So NCECA is National Council on Arts Education for Ceramics Arts. It is a national conference, and I like to compare it to South by Southwest for the ceramics world. We're, expecting 10,000 attendees out of the hub area of Sacramento in spring of 2022. How does that affect, Roseville and the greater area? They have satellite events that are planned out through all the way up, to Auburn, Tahoe, to the Bay Area. So this is kind of like a very widespread opportunity geographically, because we do anticipate, they have a history of a lot of visitors from out of state. So there's a lot of great tourism revenue to be had with this opportunity, and especially in Roseville. The group is already talking about facilitating buses to bus people to potential events and exhibitions planned in Roseville. On the Blue Line Art side of things, we're already planning on hosting a concurrent exhibition within the conference, which means that we're going to be drawing, people who are the core ticket buyer audience up for one of the main events for the Sacramento event to Roseville, which is really exciting. And this has tie-in, opportunities for educational and event programming outside of what NCECA plans. We also have staff that's working directly with the core planning agency for NCECA. So there is room to grow and expand the programming around NCECA to fit Roseville's needs. There's also some activation opportunities for abandoned storefronts and getting local merchants involved in tie-in activities. I don't know if you want to play the video or if
it's about a 3-minute video.
Nah.
Yeah, let's go. Next. But we can share the video with you afterwards.
And with that, outside of the NCECA conference, one of the major opportunities that we see for economic development in the downtown is public art projects. And over the last year, here's a few of the projects that we've been able to do in a socially distanced format. With public art projects and festivals, a key component of economic development is the event focus. Unfortunately, with gatherings limited in our usual planned activity period was this, I think, June. It came with a postponement, but we were able to kind of pivot and do some smaller events, outdoor activations, things that didn't involve people gathering and didn't have that risk factor, but still provided ways for community interaction, which I think public art is great for. Here we've got the mini mural competition that, got the mayor involved, got local artists involved, and you can see the little community wall down there on the right where local residents inspired this word wall over their feelings about community during the pandemic. And throughout the weekend, we had people coming by in to, add their own art to the wall. And it was just a really feel-good, engaging project in collaboration with the city of Roseville.
Yeah, we were blown away by just how many people walked up to us and just wanted to be heard. And we're sharing, how they're dealing with the pandemic. So it felt like a very healing opportunity for the community to add their own words to this wall.
Some other projects that you've seen in the downtown, the Paint the Rails project to beautify the temporary outdoor dining areas. I think that was a successful project. We also have, our main project that features the large-scale murals that you've seen within the PBID and slightly outside of the PBID if it's not directly involved with the Roseville Mural Project. As far as this year's plan for additional public art opportunities, the DRP's identified Atlantic Street as probably the primary target for activation, with a focus on historical content, which is a little bit of an adjustment from the work that we've done in the past, but we're happy to work with local property owners and develop a plan for the Atlantic Street activation. Tentatively planned for fall 2021, and we're still seeking some funders to help complete this project.
Yeah, and these public art opportunities have just been an amazing way for local artists to still be working and making a wage during these difficult times too. Their commissions are quite great.
Some of the, things that we see as ways to develop this program and make it more effective and better for our area is, one, some kind of policy addressing the limitations that the downtown specific ordinances give mural programs in this area. Because the downtown is historic and it is, a great, unique place to bring character to the city, I think addressing the specific ordinance could go a long way in helping us, streamline the process and hopefully, make more different types of art eligible for, installation in the downtown. There's also, room to expand the project beyond the downtown district because in past years, it's been focused on the downtown because of our PBID funders. But if we had some funding diversity, we could activate areas that are slightly outside of the downtown or in our core downtown neighborhoods, such as, if you remember, the Johnson Pool project from last year. That was something that the city was able to work with us, and Parks and Recreation actually funded the revitalization of the Johnson Pool mural exterior.
Yeah, and we have been getting requests from some other businesses, like along Riverside, that are interested in murals but are outside of the Peabody area.
But yeah, overall, just developing the partnership, the communication models, and the funding models for this to really grow it into a program that utilizes local resources. And I think one of our top priorities in running the program is making sure that the money that's generated from this is going right back into our creative economy. So we're all about paying artists fair wages and attracting artistic talent and stimulating economic activity by making sure that that funding does go to artists. Okay. I think this is a little bit of a repeat, but yeah, there's also opportunities outside of murals to expand, to beautify parks with three-dimensional sculptures, to activate areas. Right now, our city does not have a % new build for public art program, which is traditionally used to fund major installations of public art. So that would be, if the city is interested in pursuing other art opportunities, the % for build would be a good avenue to pursue. And next up, we have, our continual focus at Blue Line Arts is in the visual arts. Obviously, this is not all encompassing of the arts opportunities that are out there for economic development, but really what we're focusing on this fall is exhibitions with strong community programming elements. And the perfect example of this is something we're really excited to plan for the first time, Hispanic Heritage Month exhibition and residency. And for us, this is really important to do in an of, by, and for capacity. And what that means for us is, hiring local consultants from the Latino community to, participate in program design and execution, and highlighting local artists and, also regional state level artists who are within the Latin community to make this exhibition a success. This residency also brings additional educational opportunities for youth and adults, and has the potential to bring in artists that would be a tourism draw for demonstrations and lectures. There's also, depending on the amount of funding we're able to secure for this event, cultural event opportunities to tie in different arts and culture groups in the region and invite them to a third Saturday event around Dia de los Muertos.
Now, the other special events we have coming up, Lottery for the Arts is our annual fundraiser and art auction. It's in its 13th year, and we are very excited. It will be happening March 13th, virtually again this year. However, we are going to be having a in-person live VIP preview event on May 7th. And then new this year, we are planning Art Bazaar, a holiday art market planned for this November during Small Business Saturdays to really make sure that we have as many visitors and, art buyers, but right before the holidays coming into the downtown area.
Another great opportunity that, has been brought to our attention that's a priority in the Arts and Entertainment Strategic Plan is a signature arts festival for the city to really, help define the character of our area, the greater Roseville area, and serve as like a larger tourism draw for the area that hasn't really been executed in Roseville before. As at Blue Line Arts, we're interested in, possibly serving in a leadership role within developing this idea, just because of our past experience with the Roseville Mural Project. And I think we have a really good network and communications with other arts orgs in the area that we would hope to partner with a focus on cross-promoting between important local industries that are maybe not in the arts, but can be, brought together with the arts for some great synergy, such as, the local wine trails, breweries, or farmers. We can also, look at different options for bringing national traveling arts conferences to have a presence in Roseville because of our event infrastructure, which is, something that we're not too far down the line of exploring, but it is a good opportunity to bring in local tourism.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for listening to our presentation, for inviting us here today. We are very excited about the COVID guidelines, slowly being lifted so that we can have more events and bring the community together even more. And we welcome any questions or comments at this time.
And I also do want to just mention that, with these proposals for events, it is a pretty aggressive schedule for our organization. And if any of these interest EDAC, we would love the opportunity to follow up in further discussions about, how EDAC can help make them a reality. So again, maybe we can address some of that in questions or in further meetings and discussions. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. We're a little short on time, but I definitely want to give an opportunity for some questions and preempt public comment here. If you are in the public and you would like to call in, just remember that phone number is 916-774-5353. I want to mention that I was on the original, what was it called? The Arts and Entertainment Commission back when it was formed, and we did bring in somebody to run programming. And when we got the result back, I think everybody was gasping because it was so expensive and there was no funding for that huge bill. And I think at the time it was decided that the city and our organizations like Blue Line could do our own programming for events, much more budget conscious. So that was, I know, an issue back then was just some of that cost. I'd love to see something downtown, a big art thing where we shut down the streets and things. Anybody else have any questions at all or comments? I can't see you, so you might just have to unmute and talk here. And again, if you're in the public and you'd like to comment, the number is 916-774-5353. And we also have some guests from the public that are joining us today. You're welcome to speak as well. Got my little timer going. No comments, huh?
You can probably end screen share, MT.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
All right. Well, I don't see anybody. Nobody's unmuted and said anything. Last chance, and public's had plenty of time now. Anyone else want any comments or questions? All right. Well, thank you again for the presentation. We appreciate that, and I hope you're very successful in bringing more people downtown. I think that's a fantastic quality of life, and just kind of livens up our downtown. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Okay, I'm going to go into staff updates. Our first one is property sales and request for proposals update. Wayne has that one.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Wayne Wiley, and I'll try to keep this brief. There's about 6 RFPs and sales of property that we're working on. The first being Green Acres. I think you all are aware we went out with an RFP. They were the successful proposer, and they subsequently closed on property off of Industrial and Galilee. So this is over by the DMV site. So right now they've submitted for their entitlements. They're they're plugging along, and their goal is actually to be open spring of 2022. So that's really exciting. The next one that I'll mention is the post office, which is located downtown across the street from the Civic Center. We've made a lot of progress, and actually we're supposed to close by the end of this week. So there's a lot happening in our downtown. And Scott, I was on a call for a second, but I do want to add, what Blue Line does. I've worked with them over the past 5 years. They add a lot to our downtown, and so I think their efforts should be recognized. And I think wherever there's an ability for the city, I also sit on the DRP PBID board for the DRP and possibly EDAC to partner. I think we should definitely consider that. Another item that we're working on is the old Courthouse, another location downtown across the street from the downtown library. We've gone out, we've contacted HCD, and we anticipate that being developed with a housing project, probably with an affordable component. The site has been scraped, so it's a clean site now. The courthouse has been demolished, and there's been a lot of interest there. The next one is going to be the old fire station. Rob Klein in our office is going to be working on that RFP. There's a new process that we have to go through, which requires us to first notify HCD of the availability of surplus property. And so Rob's working on notifying them and going through that process. And then we'll see where we go from there. And then I think, Roseville Industrial Park, Troy in our department's been working on that. Council just approved an exclusive right to negotiate to enter into that with some potential developers, Panattoni. And so staff is working on some critical path items to see what the next steps will entail and how long that process will take. But in a nutshell, those are the RFPs and the surplus property sales that the city's been working on.
Can I add one item? It's actually a purchase and sale agreement for the Roseville Industrial Park, and we're working on facilitating Panattoni and getting their entitlement submitted. And then the last one, Wayne, I think you were going to highlight was the former Hotel Conference Center site.
Oh, yeah, thank you. How could I forget? This is a big project. Everyone's aware the former Hotel Conference Center site we're now calling Roseville Junction. This is over by Villa Sport. You guys know where that is. And then it's across from the mall. You have the mall open space, and then this vacant city-owned property. Previously, the city considered doing a hotel conference center, public-private project there. That really didn't, the conference center portion of that project didn't necessarily pencil out based on kind of market demands. And so we decided to go out to sell the property. We went through the RFP process. So this is going to be 100% privately developed project. It includes 2 hotels, kind of an outdoor kind of rec component. So there's some things that we can't officially announce yet, but I definitely can tell you that at the end result will be a draw to the city. It will be a draw to that area. And so we are really excited, and we're due to close on that property on the sale in June. So there's a lot of things on the horizon. Thanks, Laura, for that reminder.
I just wanted to ask, I don't know if our whole board is aware of the Roseville Industrial Park, because we haven't really talked about that, have we, in this group? Does anybody have any question? If you don't know what it is, please ask, because this is really, really important for the future of our city. Is there anybody that hasn't heard about this yet?
Actually, we have Troy here, as well as Bill Chaplin, and Troy might be able to give us an overview of the acreage and the amount of square footage and jobs that we're looking at. Troy?
Sure. Yeah, the acreage is around 230 acres or so, but it's about 180, a little less than that, developable acres. And Panattoni has entered into a purchase and sale agreement. They are looking at a phased project. The first group of phases will be there's a creek that bisects the northern half of the property. They're looking at the southern half of that creek area. Just in that southern half, they're looking at about 1 million square feet of industrial space. The northern side will have additional square footage. They haven't completely fleshed that out yet. We're now working with utilities We had a meeting this morning with Bill and his team at Electric and our folks over in environmental utilities to find out what it's really going to take to serve that area, and that factors into Panettone's plans as well. So we're still in the very beginning stages. They should be ready to file for their entitlements very soon, as Laura said, and it's a project that's could establish thousands of jobs for Roseville over the next 10 years.
And Scott, if I can add, because I just gave a presentation last week, and one of the things that I spoke about were vacancy rates. And if you look at industrial vacancy rates, they start to come back down, and they're still at all-time lows, hovering around 3.5%. So, speaking to the viability of this project, we need more industrial land and more industrial space. So this is a really exciting project for us and what we can offer.
And these are the really big footprint industrial sites, which there's not a lot of places to do that in the Sacramento area. So that's a huge opportunity for the city. And if you weren't aware of this, the thing that just stuck out to me is they're estimating at this point that at build out, it would produce $950 million a year in regional prosperity. That's a huge, huge difference for the region, what this could do to us. So this is really exciting and should help the future of our city quite a bit economically. Mm-hmm. All right. Is there any other comments or questions on this presentation? All right. There's opportunity for the public. And board, you're welcome to chime in while we're waiting. If you'd like to make a comment from the public, our number is 916-774-5353. Got my timer going here. On the property sales, this group, I believe we had a vote and we strongly recommended that we use the proceeds as much as possible for economic development. How's that looking? I'm asking as a generic question.
Good question. We ended up taking to City Council, as you know, once we sold Green Acres property, we took $1 million and we used that to pay back the small business loans. We will have probably about $4.5 to $5.5 million that we will get over the next fiscal year that we are hoping to request. Half of that be used for economic development efforts. We don't necessarily want to call them incentive programs. The word incentive, isn't, our ultimate goal, but to implement some of our other programs. City Council is having a workshop later this week, and they will be providing economic development guidance on some of the programs that they would like for us to be working on over the next year. And so we're going to ask that some of these funds be used towards implementing that. So we're still hopeful to get a good portion of that money, Scott.
Good. I'll just keep asking, and I'll definitely talk about that Thursday. And you guys are always welcome. They're public meetings, so we'd love to hear the public input. Did we get any callers? I'm assuming not. All right, let's go into our next presentation. Rob Klein has a downtown update for us.
Thank you, Councilmember Alvord. Good to see everybody here today. So I'm just going to give you a kind of quick overview of what's been going on in downtown, some over the past year and then some since we've last met. So as Wayne discussed, there's some pretty unique opportunities that we're looking at right now in downtown in terms of development. As he mentioned, the post office site, what's going on at the courthouse, and also the fire station at 401 Oak. And then across the street at 116 South Grant, for the opportunity of the post office moving over there and now in operations. If you've been by there in the last couple of days, at least I walked by today, they have some sidewalks closed for some window maintenance and also replacement. There's some nice window clings that are going up, and Roseville Electric is working through their process of kind of the site analysis of space to take. And once they get through that phase and eventually occupy the building, knowing what type of space to have left, then the city will start to look and entertain more leases on that vacant area within the building. Also, in terms of development, we've had a recent uptick in our infill meetings. So earlier this week, we had an infill meeting for a vacant parcel on Santa Clara Drive with a oral surgeon who did a lot of looking around the city to find a space that they could come in and do work. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find a space that was currently built. So right now they're doing their due diligence before purchasing the site. And if things come to fruition, we'd be looking at about a 7,500 square foot oral surgery center there on Santa Clara. Our initial meeting and infill meeting went really well, and I think that got the doctor and his team of architects and engineers excited to keep pushing forward. Another one that's come in recently is on Winding Creek Way up there off Foothills for a development of about 550,000 square feet of warehouse. And then the final one that will be coming up here soon is an infill meeting that has to do with, it's off Efflo Way over there near Maine, but basically looking at empty parcel to do 3 new residential units and 2 ADUs. So it's nice to see these infill meetings coming up. That shows a lot of great interest, especially because these 3 are all new construction. And just a little background on the infill meetings, it doesn't necessarily have to be new construction. We've met with folks, whether they're doing a major TI, but it's a meeting where we bring together participants from different departments that would weigh in on that either tenant improvement or type of new construction to help give comments and kind of provide a framework as they're moving forward and think about a project. Next is the Facade rebate program. So last year, 2020, we opened up the first round of the Facade program in partnership with the Downtown Roseville Partnership. We had a great result, lots of interest, some really great projects that came out of that. A few of them including the old Buns building, the 105 Noshery, and a few others. So right now we're looking to open up the second round of the Facade program and applications to be accepted starting Monday, May 3rd. So we've seen a lot of interest in folks that are wanting to engage us in this second round. Next, I'll just address the downtown decks. You know, this came as a result of the COVID pandemic. It was the city and the Downtown Roseville Partnership's efforts under an executive order to help support these restaurants on Vernon Street, where outdoor dining is a little bit more difficult than it would be in other private areas where they can expand into a private parking lot or maybe have more space. So the decks were built as Brooke and Mary Tess had shown. We outlined the decks with K-Rail to protect them and had the mural project done on that, which looked really nice. So with that said, you know, these decks were built as temporary structures. They are, you know, to code barely. They've served a great purpose as we've, you know, helped restaurants expand. And like I said, they were built under an executive order through the city's local emergency. Once that local emergency were to end, the city's local emergency were to end, then we'd have to figure out what to do. And so at this point, the city has engaged the Downtown Roseville Partnership and the Downtown Merchants Association to start to think about and brainstorm some ideas of maybe more permanent type areas that we can help these restaurants still keep that outdoor presence, because I think it brings a really cool vibe to downtown and onto Vernon Street and see that activity. So we're definitely engaged with the groups down here and talking to the business owners to start that conversation now. So once the time comes for them to be removed, we're ahead of the game on that. Again, with the Downtown Roseville Partnership, just to highlight a few things going on, we've seen some great engagement with the board, especially, you know, around the Capital Improvement Committee, as they see, you know, they have some meetings going on to talk about different projects that they're actively seeking to participate in or lead the way on and help with funding. So it's very cool to see. In terms of the Downtown Roseville Merchants Association, again, great engagement from the board. They actually have a first full board for quite some time. We brought in 4 new board members, bringing that total up to 11. So the difference here, just to make everybody aware, is the Downtown Roseville Partnership is the property owners, the merchants is actually the business owners here. So very cool to see some new business owners getting involved and excited to help out and bring some new programs on board. And finally, I'll just close with, going through the pandemic and what we've seen, across the country, but, as far as closures go, in downtown, we've seen about 10 businesses new open up. And I mean, that includes restaurants. It includes different architecture firms, offices for churches. So there's a lot of, variety to the businesses that have come downtown over the pandemic. But, it's just encouraging to see that there's still that drive to come down here and the investment taking place from these business owners to help downtown grow. So with that, that's all I have at this point. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any board members have any questions? And again, saving time, I'll open it to the public as well. If the public wants to comment, please call in at 916-774-5353. Board, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got one real quick. It's been mentioned a couple times, actually, and I'm not sure who to best direct this question at, if it's Wayne or Rob or Laura, but the old fire station and the demolition that's coming up. I don't recall, several years ago when the downtown specific plan was put together, did it happen to identify that site for an opportunity site for different use or future use? Does anyone here know?
Yeah, so that was identified in the downtown specific plan as a catalyst site. So they do have a pre-approved project, right? So the likelihood that a project comes in that is identical to what was contemplated is probably pretty, is likely not going to happen. But if a project comes in that is substantially consistent, it definitely does help streamline that development process. So, what we're pointing to as we go out, or when we go out with the RFP, is we're pointing people back to the specific plan. Now, that project included a multitude of uses, so office, retail, and residential, right? The market is probably going to dictate something slightly different. Nevertheless, it does provide some guidance.
Yes, and Vance, we are also under some new regulations that require us to go through HCD before the city's even able to go out with an RFP. And so I know Michelle knows this by the back of her hand, but we're required to give HCD a 60-day notice. We cannot do it concurrently. Should somebody be interested in this property, then we're required to enter into a good faith 90-day negotiation period. So basically, our hands are tied going through this HCD process for up to 5 months before we can start our RFP process. So,
Laura, for those who aren't familiar, HCD has to do with housing, affordable housing, right? So I want to use the term. Do you want to just explain that briefly so people understand kind of what's happening to us?
Yes, and so Michelle can get this a little bit better than me, but approximately a year and a half ago, there was legislation imposed on jurisdictions that any and all surplus property had to go through the noticing to housing and community development. And so that's the process that we're going through. We're also required to notify any housing sponsors. And so typically our old surplus property process that included, school districts and parks and housing sponsors within and housing agencies within our jurisdiction. That has been broadened to now probably statewide, any housing sponsors. So the 10 or 15 folks that we used to have to notify now goes through Housing and Community Development, and it's over 200 notices. And so we're basically going through that new process, notifying any housing sponsor through HCD for 60 days. If somebody indicates any interest at all, that starts that 90-day negotiation period. Doesn't mean we have to take it, according to what Michelle says, or explains to me, but we definitely have to negotiate in good faith. And that would be advance for affordable housing. So this is the state's, desire to try to encourage cities to build more affordable housing. All this relates back to helping us achieve our RENA numbers and other things that we're under. So after all that, then we can start a regular process with an RFP.
Well, Laura, you must have seen the question in my eye, because that was going to be my very next question, which was whether HCD's interest was to provide just housing or if it had to be at an affordable level. So I get it. All right. Well, interesting. I didn't realize that that was affecting your ability to sell these properties.
Absolutely. And that's why, our staff has worked so hard over the last year to get a lot of the surplus properties in purchase and sale agreements. The fire station site, we didn't foresee getting that back. And the courthouse site, we just couldn't get to it in time. And we have another piece off Berry Street that we haven't yet to give. And so with regards to affordable housing, HCD has given us clear guidelines that if it's a 25% affordable housing proposal, it gets evaluated this way. If it's 50%, it has a higher priority and is evaluated this way. If it's 100%, then it even is higher priority and so forth. So it really is the state's way of directing us or encouraging us to build affordable housing in our city. Yeah.
So the good news is it helps our affordable housing, but it hurts the idea of some cool businesses downtown. So,
yeah. So usually our RFP would be consistent with the downtown specific plan. Unfortunately, this is trumping some of our desires for different kind of uses within the downtown. So,
any other comments or questions on this?
Scott, I have a question, or maybe just having staff give a clarification, if the public can speak.
Absolutely.
So, Laura, originally this was earmarked for university potentially coming to downtown. And so can you just provide a quick update on if it's being torn down, so we're moving away from that concept?
So we were notified by the University Development Foundation that their efforts for higher education were not coming to fruition. There was a clawback provision when we sold the building that if they did not put a certain level of reinvestment in the property, that we could claw it back, purchase it back. We had the first right of refusal. That 25-month period expended, they hadn't put any investment in the property, and it was the city's choice to purchase it back due to the fact that the higher education component was not coming to fruition. We understand that they're still interested, but they were not interested in investing in this property. And so in our efforts to redevelop the downtown, the city purchased it back. And that was only after we had some significant damage done to the building from some of the homeless, with breaking windows and doors and, breaking in, as well as flooding portions of the building. And so we had to go in and do some significant cleanup. At this time, we're starting the HCD process, And then I still have yet to receive approval for any demolition. So we can't really say it's going to be demolished because council hasn't approved that. We're first going through the HCD process, and then we're going to reevaluate, and we'll probably release an RFP, and I probably will go to council and request for demolition.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? All right, we've had adequate time for the public. I assume nobody's called in? Let's go ahead and move on to our next item, 6.3, Economic Development Strategy Update. Troy Holt has an update for us.
Well, thank you. So this will be a very brief opening to what will be a lengthy process. So I don't want you to think that my brevity today means that we'll be this will be a process that we'll overlook. The economic development strategy we currently have, we sent out with the agenda, expires in 2022. So now's the time for us to start thinking about updating it. So what we're thinking about at staff is that over the next month or two, if you have comments, if members of the committee, you can email those directly to me. I'll start collecting those. And then perhaps at the July meeting, we'll have a discussion, perhaps even talk about if there's need for a subcommittee of this group to help flesh out some of those comments and develop them. We really want the EDAC to be very deeply involved in this process. And then potentially around October, bringing it back to this group, we may even have to hold a special meeting, get the last word in, make sure this group approves, and then look at taking it to City Council between October and December and having it ready to start when the current plan expires. And that's how we see this playing out. And so please, for the next month or two, if you have comments, please send them to me. I should say we will be transitioning a little bit because this is my last EDAC meeting with you. I'll be retiring on July 2nd, but we'll be working that internally in staff as to who's going to carry that project forward.
Troy, I did not know you were going to retire.
Yeah.
I think council might have to just pass a little thing that says only one person per department gets to retire every 5 years, right, Laura?
Right. Right.
Your hand is up,
Just
Laura.
to add a little. I do, just to add a little bit of information on this. One of the critical adds in this 5-year update will also be to solidify economic development's partnership with the utilities. And so we really want to see that embedded in our work program as well as in theirs, and show that partnership, because as you all know, that they are our value proposition, and we sell it every single day going out there on business recruitment, retention, and in all of our efforts. And so I really need for that to be in this document as well. And we want to make sure that we preserve our foremost effort in entrepreneurship. And we want to make sure that that also is strengthened in there as well, and our partnerships with the chamber as well. I know that they'll be having some changes upcoming too. So, yeah.
Well, I think the strategic plan is going to be really important for us as we carry out, because once we approve it and then council approves it, those are marching orders. So we want to make sure that we've really thought this through carefully. I appreciate your guys' guidance. Let me open this up to public comment as well so we can get our timer started on this. If you're in the public and you'd like to make a comment on this, our number is 916-774-5353. I just need to put that on record so I can keep replaying it. And now while we're waiting for that, I'll open this back up to the board. Do you have any other comments or questions regarding our upcoming strategy update?
Scott, I don't have a question regarding the strategy, but I think I might be backtracking here a bit. But I was hoping that maybe Laura or Wayne could provide us with an update on the digital sign RFP and the progress on that. Okay.
We're going to do a roundtable. So one of you guys want to chime in on that when we do the roundtable? Would that be all right? Okay.
That's awesome. The place to do it. Yeah.
Okay. And I assume there's nobody called in. We're past the 30-second time there. All right. Thank you, Troy. Let's go ahead and go into our roundtable. and this is going to be a little awkward since, well, usually we do at our roundtables, we invite our public to participate in it. We usually go around the board first, but if you guys are okay, I'm just going to go down the list of participants here with everybody. So if you have something to say when I call your name, don't forget to unmute. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving on. So Angela, you're the first person. And one of the things we're asking on the updates is most of you represent a certain sector of our community business. So if you have an update, generally speaking, for your community or anything else you want to add in there. So Angela, you're first. Do you have anything?
Hi there, everybody. I work for the Building Industry Association. And so just something that came of interest to me recently was just the fact that City of Roseville has been issuing a lot of permits this year. We have 1,463 that have been issued this fiscal year, and I believe the fiscal year ends in a couple months, maybe July 1st. And last year, there was just over 1,000 that were issued. So this year, quite a large growth in that. So I just wanted to call that out. And then the other of interest in the home building industry is just Winding Creek. We have 3 builders that are selling in Winding Creek right now. It's K. Hovnanian Homes, Meritage Homes, and DR Horton. And so things are moving along really well with the first phase of Winding Creek. And Anthem United, who's the developer, will be, they're not selling homes yet, but they are scheduled to. But I was looking at the traffic and sales report, and things are moving along nicely for the 3 builders that are building there already. So that's all I really have for my industry.
Great. Before I go on to the next person, I'm going to mention to the public, if you want to join in the roundtable or you have any comments for the end here, our number is 916-774-5353. And if you call in, we'll get notified. So next on my list is Eric Avery.
Hello. Yeah, likewise, we're seeing surprisingly healthy activity on a lot of fronts. The sublease market, which we were been monitoring, hasn't really come into fruition. People are actually taking things off the sublease market because they are planning on returning to offices. A year of Zoom meetings has taken the shine off the apple of working from home. So we're excited to see people back in the buildings. We're opening back up. So that's generally what we're seeing. And any questions you guys have about that sector, please give me a call. Shoot me an email, give me a call. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Brooke Abrams, do you have anything you want to add?
Sorry, nope. I am good. I'm here for your questions anytime. Give us a call at the gallery if you'd like to follow up with me further. Sorry, I was kind of like on mute and off screen. I wasn't sure if we were going to circle back around, but just want to again thank you for Wayne and Laura for your support and economic development from the city. I think with your continued partnership, we can bring great arts events to Roseville.
Great. Thank you again for your presentation. Bill Chaplin.
Thank you, Councilman Alford. I do have a couple quick things from the utility side. We continue to support our recovery efforts, and we will continue in the future. We do have Reopen Roseville still going, our residential relief program, as well as recently we've provided staff to support the emergency rental and utility relief program through the county. So we encourage people to participate in that. We are working on our summer preparedness. As you guys remember, last summer, the utility industry had quite a few issues with wildfires and blackouts. Thankfully, none of those affected Roseville, and we intend that to be the case again this summer. But we are in the process of reviewing and finalizing our annual summer preparedness program. So that's a good way to make sure that everything's ready for when those heat waves do reach us. The last thing is really we are encouraging our customers who are past due to pay their bills. We have a substantial amount of residential and commercial customers who do continue to have outstanding past due balances on the utility bills. And we do anticipate in the next few months here to be ending our suspension of disconnects and late fees. So that's been a really good program we've provided to our customers since last March. However, along with other utilities in the region, it's coming to a close here shortly. So if you know of anybody or if you are aware of getting that message out, if you can help us with that, that'd be great. We do anticipate having a lot of calls, and we do have payment plan options, a lot of remedies for that, but we do want people to review their accounts and pay up if they can. And that's really all I have. Thank you, Scott.
Great. Robert Klein, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just circle back to Jeff's question real quick and address the update on the digital billboard RFP. So just real quick for background for everybody that, on this project, we'd released an RFP in early 2020. There was some varying proposals that we received, so that led to staff rejecting all the proposals. Later on in the year, in October, we went to council seeking direction on what they were looking for out of this proposal. With that direction, we re-released an RFP in December of 2020. Those proposals were due in February of 2021. We have a great team working on our evaluation committee and across the board with other staff. So at this point in the project, there's not a lot of details that we can discuss. I will tell you that we have been working very diligently, as this is a priority project, for the city and for our council. So our team is working quickly and diligently to bring this back to council. But at this point, where we are in the project, there's not a lot of details that we can discuss.
Hey, Rob,
Okay.
This is Eric. Do you have an idea when when you'll be awarding this or putting it into council?
Yeah, so like I said, just as far as exact timelines, that can't really share a lot of details as far as the timeline goes. It is a priority. We are working quickly. I can see in the next few months that staff's definitely prepared to bring it forward. But right now, as we're working through details, and that includes timelines and contracts, that we can't discuss a lot of that detail. But when the time is right, I do look forward to sharing more details with you guys when we are able to submit the notice of intent to award for this project. You guys will definitely be informed. And just after that, we will take it to council. So, once we get to that point.
Is that some of that information in the body of the RFP though too, right?
Yeah. So there's a tentative timeline in the RFP. Some of those timelines have been extended due to a variety of factors. The first one was the timeline as far as when the proposals were due. We extended that because we were in the middle of the pandemic, but also the holidays. So that was extended. That also pushed the evaluation period. Our team wanted to take a lot of time to be able to make sure that, when we were working through these proposals, that we had all the information necessary to make a selection. And so with that, we are staying relatively close to on schedule with what we had laid out in the tentative schedule in the RFP.
Good to know.
All right. Troy, do you have anything to add?
No additional updates. Thanks.
All right. Brian, you want to chime in? I assume not. Mary Tess, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, moving on.
No, sorry.
No problem. Laura Mattioli.
Well, I know Vance is going to be discussing some of the chamber's efforts. And so at this time, I don't have anything else I want to add. But I do want Vance to have the opportunity to chat about the chamber and what they can do. They've reached out numerous times. What can we do to assist the business recovery efforts? And I think we'll be having these efforts over the next, year and a half, till our economy fully recovers. And I know the chamber is very interested in having this discussion and how they can coordinate and partner with the city on these recovery efforts. So I'll let Vance ask some more detailed questions later or share more.
Okay, great. He's coming up here pretty soon.
Okay, good.
Stephanie, do you have anything you'd like to add? Not hearing anything. I'll move on. Jeff Richardson.
Yep, always have something to add, Scott. I've been on vacation for a week, but I'm getting a few updates. I'm assuming it's all still doing well. But the month of April has been pretty good for turnaround. The foot traffic is most every week has been single digits off of 2019 numbers. That's how we're tracking it now. And this last weekend, I was told that it's the first weekend we beat 2019 numbers, which is incredible considering. Several retailers have exceeded their 2019 sales for March. We just got March sales back, so we're really excited about that. To be able to exceed 2019 performance with some tenants is pretty impressive. Most of that was luxury, home, some of those areas that we've been continuing to have some incredible performances from. And now restaurants are starting to really open up and do better. They're keeping their outside dining, similar to what you heard in the city is doing. We're keeping those external patios going, but now they're letting more people indoors and starting to recover well too. I also wanted to mention that with Brooks' cooperation, we also had the mobile mobile murals at the Galleria for about several weeks. So that was really nice having it there and get a lot of attention to the Blue Line as well as the local artists. So we really enjoyed having that in our center court there for a short time. Burberry closed. I shared that earlier. That was disappointing. That was mainly a lease expiration, so it didn't have anything to do with COVID. But we have Saint Laurent, YSL, opening in their place, and they're under construction currently. So that'll be a nice add to our luxury assortment. Travis Matthews opened. They just had a grand opening this past weekend and did phenomenally well. They're exceeding their expectations. I think we got it right with that men's line. The golf line is doing really, really well. Papaya opened, and then we have Electrify America electric charging station well underway. Had some hiccups, but we're hoping to have that open by the mid to end of May. Seritage is actually getting ramped up. They've signed the contract by now with the contractor that they had before for their new contract to build the Century Theater. We don't have word on the bowling alley yet, but we should start to see some activity on the theater construction within the next couple of weeks. So we were a little nervous about that one, but now we're excited that they are ramping back up. And then lastly, Amy's has pulled permits, and I think they should be. They may have started construction this past week. If not, they're going to be doing it next couple of weeks as well. That's a health food option out in the front where the 76 station used to be out off the Galleria Boulevard. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Scott, it's Stephanie. Sorry, I couldn't. I was frozen.
That's okay.
Hit that button.
Go ahead, you're on.
Super. Just the university has recently put out a conversation piece on careers and how so the University of Phoenix Career Institute inaugural Career Optimism Index. I can send it along if you guys want to share it out, but it's talking about how Americans still do remain optimistic even in and share resiliency and remaining positive in the significant changes and pivots that have been made in the last year and a half. So as we continue to break down the emotional and structural barriers from the career impacts and the progressions, education is still top of mind. Would lead into, my brain is frozen on the word that I'm looking for. We're working with an organizational called WAS, and I know we do here in the Sacramento metro area as well, for internships. That's the word I was looking for. Internship opportunities that are, the students are able to select and are selected by the group to continue their higher education and their bachelor's, and that while they're also serving as an internship at an institution. Most of this is happening in the IT realm, and this close second next is our healthcare. So it's very exciting to work in these arenas. I can't wait till we get some more here, but we've already had 2 graduates during the pandemic. So that's been really exciting. And the university's mission vision changing back into career readiness and career for life. If you've seen any of our commercials on TV lately, that is our new focus as we move forward with our students, and we don't anticipate opening up until later this fall at earliest, would be September for in-person instruction. Until then, we will all be online. One extra kudos to the city and an engagement that we've been engaged in is with the health education group, which I sit on their board for. They've done amazing work, but additional partnerships in our public health during these tumultuous times with our nursing groups. So it's a huge shout out for the collaborative efforts and consistent and constant communication to help those in need in our community. That's about sums it up. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to message me anytime.
Thanks, Stephanie. Vance Jones, you're up.
Hey, thanks, Scott. First, let me just say, Jeff, thank you for the encouraging words, because I can't. It's great to hear that businesses are starting to come back and that you're tracking foot traffic against 2019 numbers, and we're actually starting to beat those numbers. I mean, it's just so encouraging. So thank you for that update. And then Laura, thanks for the prelude there for what I wanted to ask this group about. So on the Roseville Chamber, one of our goals with our annual strategic plan is one of the subsets of one of our goals is to assist in the business recovery effort as we start to come out of this pandemic. And, we've talked about this a lot as a board. I know the Chamber's been very, very active in trying to support our local businesses. In particular, we focus to the extent we can on hospitality and restaurants, some of those industries that have been so heavily hit. But as we look forward, aside from financial resources, we're struggling a little bit with what can the Chamber do? We're here to help. We want to promote businesses and just business in general and the economic vitality here in our city. But we're kind of stuck, if you will, on what specific measures we could take. So as we were brainstorming at our last board meeting, we thought it'd be a great idea just to bring it to this group. What ideas do you have that, anything the Chamber can be doing? We're not sure if it's e-blasts or any kind of business promotion or just thinking outside the box, what other steps we could take or be looking forward to. And maybe these aren't answers that we can get right now, but if that's something you can mull over, or if you've got anything off the tip of your mind right now, we'd love to hear it. So that's it.
Thanks, Vance. I'll throw in a quick comment. As a business owner, when I had my restaurant downtown, one thing that would have been great is, you guys do a lot of surveys with the Chamber. If you did surveys asking what is your biggest need, and then maybe give us some answers. I'm challenged with hiring people, then maybe give us some ideas on how we can, find more employees, that kind of thing. But I always appreciated the opportunities. If you find out what their needs are and just give them some answers. I think a lot of owners are looking for answers, especially on the smaller side. Okay, Naz Alakan, how are you? Do you have anything to share?
I'm good. Yeah, sorry I disappeared because, the work from home beauty, Comcast literally shut everything down in the middle of this meeting. So I was running around. I'm on my phone. But, I just wanted to say overall that, reflecting on what Jeff said, really on our side, which is architecture, things are really busy. It seems to me that people all of a sudden have woken up and said, let's go, right? And it's not just let's go, but let's go yesterday. So things are busy, things are moving fast. A relatively new market we have gotten into over the last few years has been housing, and not single family housing, but mixed use and different things like that. And that is just taking off everywhere. Not just, I mean, it was in Midtown around our Sacramento office for quite a bit, but we're also seeing it in other places too. I think people are really looking for opportunities to add more housing everywhere. So that's kind of the trend that we're seeing.
Great, thank you for sharing. Are you also the 782 phone number, or is that somebody else?
No, that's not me.
Okay. I have Wendy Gehrig, who has announced her retirement towards the end of the year. Sad for our community.
I have nothing. I think Vance covered it, but I will make a comment on your notation, Scott, and that is the Chamber actually is sending out a survey this week to our members asking that some of those very questions. So hopefully if there are some strategic ideas that we get from the members on what they need, then definitely Vance will have the tools to bring them back to you guys.
The one thing I was wondering, can you or Laura address the gift card thing? This is an economic development meeting.
Sure. So I have a mountain high stack of gift cards, thanks to the grant that the city and the chamber partnered on with the county. So we have purchased close to, oh gosh, how many? 2,000? I mean, I can't remember how many. There are about 100 different restaurants. We purchased gift cards from full service restaurants in the amount of $2,500. And then from the convenience restaurants, we purchased $1,000 gift cards, and we're going to be distributing them to senior care facilities, hospitals, and their staff that deals with housekeeping and environmental services. And then we'll be also looking at distributing some to our grocery stores that stayed open and made sure that we had food and toilet paper during the pandemic. So that's ongoing now, and it's been quite the task getting all of the information together. So kudos to Rob Klein and Wayne and Laura on the city end that spearheaded this, and now we just need to disperse with them.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
And Wendy, we have a little bit of money left over, right? So we're still working to get that out there too.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. And Rob did an amazing job.
Yeah.
All right. Kelly, you want to throw anything in? And Wayne, how about you?
No, I'm good. I guess just really quickly, just to reiterate kind of the sentiment on the economy and the recovery. You know, like I said, vacancy rates are coming down over Q4 of 2020 to Q1 of 2021. Industrial still at an all-time low. Office is about 9 to 10%, but retail is down to 6%. And then we're also seeing occupancy rates in our hotels go back up. So, it is an exciting time. I think Laura's right. I think it's going to be a couple of years before we get really to the pre-pandemic levels across the board, but it's definitely encouraging and an exciting time.
Okay, thank you. And we have a phone number, 782-8879. Would you like to share anything?
No, that's JMC Homes. So if you guys want to buy a house, you can call us here.
You know what? It's hard to buy a house from you guys because there's 100 people ahead of us in line, seems like. And you guys are popping up like weeds out here.
Well, we love all you're doing out there in West Roseville and drawing the people out there. So keep out the good word out there.
All right. Okay. Did I miss anybody? Anybody else want to share anything? And again, I assume we have no public who have called in. All right, so I don't know the date of our next meeting, but I'll take a motion to adjourn if anybody would like to make that motion. I see 9 people though, so
This is Angela. I motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Angela. In a second.
Second. This
Awesome.
is Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
To stay on
Aye.
and talk to yourself. So, all right, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.